Hello everyone. In this video we are going to learn about blood-brain barrier and perivascular spaces. So let us start with the blood-brain barrier. Here you can see a picture, right? That is a picture of blood-brain barrier, right? Now let us see. The constituents of the cerebrospinal fluid, they are exactly not same as those of the extracellular fluid elsewhere in the body. Many large molecular substances, they hardly pass from the blood to CSF or interstitial fluids of the brain, even though this can pass to the extracellular fluid of the body, thereby reflecting that there is an existence of the blood-brain barrier, right? Means how did we come to know that there is an existence of the blood-brain barrier? That the larger molecules, right, that are able to cross the extracellular fluid, right, they are able to enter into and come out of the extracellular fluid, but these substances, the larger molecular size substances, they are not able to cross the blood-brain barrier, right? They are not able to enter into the CSF. Means there is some barrier that is present at that level which is not allowing them to pass. The existence of the BBB or the blood-brain barrier, or the another name is hematoencephalic barrier, it is due to the fact that the endothelial cells of the brain, they are held endothelial cells of the brain capillaries, they are held to each other by the tight junctions, right? Here you can see these are the two endothelial cells that are shown, and they are held to each other by the tight junction. The BBB, that is blood-brain barrier, is formed by the structures between the blood and the nerve cells of the brain, right? We'll see one more diagram for this. Here you can see it is formed by the structures between the blood and the nerves, right, and the nerve cells of the brain. The blood in the lumen of the capillary, it is separated from the neurons by, you can see this, that is the capillary endothelial lining first, right, capillary endothelium, then comes the basement membrane, and third is intimately applied to the capillaries. There are numerous processes of the asterocytes, and it has been estimated that these processes cover about 80% of the capillary surface. Okay, so this is about the structure of the blood-brain barrier. Now, the some areas of the brain, they are devoid of the blood-brain barrier, and this includes the pineal body, hypophysis cerebri, choroid plexuses, and area postrema in the fourth ventricle of the brain. Blood-brain barrier exists in the newborn, but it is more permeable to certain substances than it is in the adult, right? So you can also say that in the newborns it is not very well developed, and it allows some of the larger molecules or some of the antigens to cross the barrier, and so it may lead to some major complications or major infections in the newborn. Now next is the functions of the blood-brain barrier. The first function is to modulate the entry of the metabolic substrates, notably the glucose. Now to modulate means to control, right? It has a controlling power. To control the entry of the metabolic substrates. Metabolic substrates are the substances that are used to produce energy, right? Means like glucose, for the carbohydrate it is glucose, then fatty acids, amino acids, and their byproducts. And this substrates, they synthesize the larger molecules. For example, amino acid, they will synthesize the proteins, right? So these are the metabolic substrates. So to control their entry, right, in that also especially the glucose. Second, it allows the entry of gases, water, electrolytes, amino acids, and lipid soluble substances. It restricts entry of the macromolecules, that is lipid insoluble substances, right, they are restricted, and thus it blocks the entry of the toxins, as either these are bound to the plasma albumin or their solubilities are inappropriate, right? So it will not allow the antigens, right, or the toxins that are bound to the plasma albumin, right? It makes a larger molecule, so it will not allow to cross the barrier. It blocks the entry of the transmitters from the blood, notably of the epinephrine. The drugs like penicillin, noradrenaline and thiopentone, it cannot cross it. Some drugs like atropine, chloramphenicol, tetracycline and sulfas can cross the barrier easily. Its another important function is to pump ions, in that also notably potassium into and out of the blood. Entry of the hormones is restricted to certain places only, so that the normal biological rhythm of the blood is maintained. Okay, so these are some of the functions of the blood-brain barrier. Next, we will learn about the perivascular spaces. Now, what is a perivascular space? Perivascular space, it is also called as the Virchow-Robin space. They are the extensions of the subarachnoid space around the vessel, right? Here you can see. This is the perivascular space that is shown here. They are the extensions of the subarachnoid space around the vessels penetrating the brain surface. The spaces taper progressively, and although these are the inward extensions in the anatomical sense, the subarachnoid and perivascular spaces, they are separated by the thin layer of the pia mater. Okay, so what is separating these two spaces? These two spaces are separated by the layer of the pia mater. The flow of the extracellular fluid is outward into the subarachnoid space. The perivascular spaces are involved in the auto-regulation of the brain arterioles, which regulate the blood supply to the tissue. The chief internal source of this auto-regulation is the adjustment of the arterial muscle tone in response to the intraluminal pressure changes, right? Means intraluminal pressure if changes, right, then the arterial muscle tone is changed in response to the intraluminal pressure change, and this is called as the auto-regulation. Right, now the cerebral blood flow, it remains at 60 to 70 ml per 100 gram per minute during the systemic blood pressure, changing range from 80 to 180 millimeter of mercury. Now this is achieved by a direct myogenic response to the distension produced by the rising intraluminal pressure. The hydrogen ion concentration in the perivascular space, it is the chief external source of the autoregulation of the cerebral blood vessels. A rising hydrogen ion, which is usually followed by hypercapnia, means excess plasma carbon dioxide content, right? It travels along the perivascular space from the capillary bed, and it inhibits the vascular muscle, perhaps by reducing the ionized calcium level. On the other hand, the hypocapnia, it causes vasoconstriction. Okay, so that is all about the perivascular space. Bye.